Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Bhakti Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So what happened when Narada and Angira instructed Maharaj Chitraketu? What kind of instructions did they give him yesterday? Yes?
Maharaj, when Angira Rishi said, when I initially approached you, Padre Chitraketu, you were too absorbed in material affairs. So I did not give you spiritual instruction. So now that you are in some lamentation, I am ready to give you spiritual instruction.
They gave him spiritual instruction.
They did not give him initially, Maharaj, because he was absorbed in material affairs.
Yeah.
He wanted a son. So they gave him a son which will cause jubilation, lamentation. Later, now after the son left, now they are giving instruction.
So what did they give him? What instruction did they give him?
About the position of the soul, about karma, about how these things act on our relationships are temporary.
Well, I wanted to hear specifically what kind of examples did they give to instruct him. They gave him instructions. Yeah, we know they instructed about the soul, but they're also souls.
Yes, but it is on the camera. It will be very big. Yes, it is.
Right? So they're also souls. So what was he instructing about? You know, what kind of examples did he give?
Threefold miseries they talked about. Panchashikha.
Panchashika. Well, that came later, right? That came later in the chapter. Initially, what was he teaching and what was he talking about? We were talking about the, about the child and about the conception of the child. And remember, we spoke about that initially. We were speaking about, you know, you're not really the father. He gave examples about grains of sand, right? What was the example? Grains of sand, they come together and the wave come and separate them. So the same way we come together, family, everyone, we come together and we separate with time, the force of time.
Another analogy was when a seed is sown to the ground, sometimes it grows to a plant, sometimes it does not.
What was that?
When a seed is sown to the ground, sometimes it grows to a plant, sometimes it does not.
When they plant the seed behind the ground, not all the seeds grow. Some seeds grow, some seeds don't. And we heard that sometimes the man may be impotent and the woman may be sterile, but they have a child somehow. And on the other hand, sometimes the man is very potent and the woman is also fertile, but they don't get the child. So the point is that having a child is not really in the hands of the mother and the couple. It's in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Everything is under His direction. That was the one point which was being made there in the chapter. So that they wanted to try to make Chitraketu detached from the loss of his child. Right? That was their business. That was why they were instructing him in that way. He said the relation didn't exist before, and it won't exist in the future. So how can you say it exists now? It's only, it's temporary. It's just some temporary arrangement. Why should you lament for some temporary relationship? So we're thinking, my child. But whose child is it? So in this way anyway, by hearing this kind of knowledge from Narada and Angira, then the king was somewhat relieved of his lamentation. And he inquired, who are you? That you know so many things, you're so enlightened, you're so much wisdom and knowledge. Who are you? He gave the names of so many great souls. Right? Then what happened?
Then they introduce themselves. They say, last time I came to you, my name is Angira. I am the one who blessed you to have a child. And he is my friend Narada.
And they gave the farm how to obtain peace. They told him what to do to give up unnecessary attachment and to understand who he is and under whose control he is. And then they all said if he follows it in 7 days, he's going to see the Lord face to face.
Okay. Yeah, the sages, they told him that the cause of all the sufferings is due to the bodily conception of life. But when you understand your spiritual identity and you surrender to the Supreme, then you can experience the pleasure of transcendence. So it was a short chapter yesterday, but today we have a long chapter, quite a long chapter, quite a lot happening in the chapter today. We're going to hear how King Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord. People often say, I want to see. Even George Harrison was singing that song, My Sweet Lord. He said, I really want to see you, but it takes so long. Yeah. He was singing like that. So, it didn't take Chitraketu very long, 7 days. He was lucky, huh? So, the chapter begins, Badarayani Uvacha. Badarayani Uvacha. Sukadeva Goswami said. So, what happens here in this BBT edition? It says Narada brought the dead son by the mystic power. By his mystic power, Narada brought the dead son into the vision and then spoke as follows. Bhanuswami translates Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, and it says there that the Narada or Angira, one of them, enters into the body and brings that body to life for some time, you know. Because why did he do that? Why did they get the boy to come back?
So that the boy can speak the truth, the philosophy that nobody belongs to nobody and these relationships are
Right. That when they hear from the boy himself, then they'll be relieved of all their lamentation. They won't lament so much. They're so attached. They hear Narada and Angira, well, they're just sages, you know, it's all right for them. You know, they don't have anybody. So they don't understand our pain and our suffering, you know. So they need the boy to come personally and tell them. Right? And how does the boy do it? What happens? What does the boy say?
I was having a different father in my last life. And which particular father are you talking about?
Yes, right, yeah. Because Narada is saying to the boy, why are you leaving? Come back and enjoy, you know, all the royalty, all the palace is there for you to enjoy. You know, you're going to be the king, and you can take your father's throne. Why are you leaving? Why are you going? And all your friends and relatives are so pained to see you leave. They're suffering so much because you're leaving them. So come back and just stay here. Take all the opulence. Enjoy your father's opulence. So that's the first 3 verses, and then text 4, we hear the boy replying. According to Narada Muni's request, he's replying, said, according to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living being, transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of the demigods, sometimes lower animals, sometimes vegetables, sometimes human species. So in which birth were these my mother and father? No one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these 2 people as my parents? So, very strong words, you know, the mother and father hearing this, they go, oh. You know, their son disowns them. The one who they're lamenting for, disowning them, they're not my mother and father. So everyone is a spirit soul. So who's the real father? Who is the real mother and father?
Krishna.
Huh?
The Shastras are the mother.
Seed-giving father.
Huh?
It's called seed-giving father. Seed-giving father, Krishna.
The which giving father?
Seed-giving father. Seed.
Seed. The seed giving father.
He is a supreme father. This is like temporary.
Okay. Yeah. The living entity is the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because he wants to enjoy this material world, the Supreme Lord gives him a chance to enter various bodies. I don't know how they can enjoy the material world in the body of a vegetable. Must be quite difficult to enjoy watching a vegetable. No,
You will be eating.
now you're an eggplant, you know. And now you're a pumpkin. And the rats come and eat you. So, our real relationship is with Krishna, not with the material mother and father, not with the material mother and father. The body created by the so-called father and mother has nothing to do with its so-called creators. So the jiva denies that they're his mother and father. Don't want anything to do with them. Disown the mother and father. How many children do you have, Prabhu?
One.
Just Ojasvi. Oh. One is enough, eh? One is enough.
Yeah.
Ojasvi. Very nice. You're very lucky. A nice son.
But I have a question about this question. You say, in which birth were these men mother and father? Which birth? Asking, the jiva is asking, which birth is that? But in this birth, there were parents, right? This birth, so why asking like this question? Which birth, even no parents? This question has not meaning actually.
Well, he's just questioning, and he's saying, if you're my when, because we've had many births. Because we've had many births. So which birth were you, my mother and father?
That's okay, but at least when he has seen his parents, now asking you, who are they? I mean, this question is absurd. Absurd, no, this question.
I'm not quite understanding everything you're saying.
This question that they are asking which birth they were my parents.
Yes.
So anyway, the previous birth is not important. In this birth, you can see the parents, like your mother and father, you can see. So we are asking question like, who are they, according to them, who are they in the previous birth? This question has no meaning actually. In this birth, they are parents, for sure. Correct?
Well, he'd already died.
Yeah.
He'd already left the body.
Correct.
So he was no more thinking of them as the mother and father. And the point is also, we're not the body. We're all spirit souls. So the mother and father, the spirit soul. Where does the spirit soul come from? The body, material body, is just a dress. Just like, where does your dress come from? I got it from that shop, or we bought it in the market, like that. You could say like that, So the material body is just like that. You get it from the parents, a couple. The same way we get clothes in the marketplace. But we don't identify so much with them. So in which body, when were they my mother and father? Just like in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is asking Krishna about how could you teach the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to the sun god? The sun god is so much senior by birth than you. But then Krishna says, many, many births both you and I have had, O Arjuna. I remember all of them, but you do not. Right? So that is the difference between the Lord and us. He remembers everything. We don't remember. We've been moving in different bodies, but we don't remember. So the Lord, He remembers everything. And we've been taking different bodies because we want to enjoy the material world. We're trying to exploit the material world for our own enjoyment. So this is the problem. This is why we're forced to take different bodies. Then going ahead, text number 5 talks about the material world moves like a river that carries away the living entities. You put things in the river and they get carried away, put it in the Ganga and the Ganga's flowing, everything gets carried away. So they also act neutrally. They mediate, they despise one another, and they act in many other relationships. Nonetheless, despite these various transactions, no one is permanently related. Right, somebody's a Russia and somebody's a Ukraine and they're fighting and killing each other. But next life you don't know where they'll be. They won't be Russian, won't be Ukraine. You don't know where they'll be, what they'll be. So this is going on all over the world, Somebody's a Muslim and a Hindu and they fight each other and kill each other. But nobody's really a Hindu, nobody's a Muslim. That's just a designation, the bodily concept of life. So because we're all in the bodily concept of life, this is the problem of the material world. People are all fighting and killing each other.
Maharaj, sometimes because of affection, people like to go to Pitri-lokas. In that way they want to associate with their ancestors in Pitri-lokas. In that way some relationship is maintained.
In that way?
Some relationship is maintained after death.
Some relationship, but you're not aware of it. The soul in Pitri-loka, once they come back to earth, they're not aware. They're not going to come and say, "Oh, thank you so much. You saved me from the." We do it. We do it for our forefathers and for our ancestors. We do these things, but while they're there in Pitri-loka, they may feel, okay, I was doing something, but once they come here, it's all forgotten. You got to take birth again. We don't remember. That's the point. Somebody may be doing things. We do it out of duty. But nobody remembers. Nobody's going to thank you. Oh, you brought me out of hell. I was in Kumbhipaka-loka, they were punishing me, you saved me. No. It's all forgotten, the power.
The relationship between spiritual master and disciple is not forgotten. It never...
Well, I don't know about that. Who is the spiritual master? Not just only Diksha Guru. The person, who's really your spiritual master. But maybe it could be somebody else, it could be a whole different thing. You don't really know. Spiritual master, somebody just does a ritual, they give you the bead and name, but did they ever instruct you? Did they ever spend time with you or like that, You didn't have much relationship with them. So how can you have much, difficult? You may have a lot of faith in your Diksha Guru, but it's not only Diksha Guru. You see, actually, the Shiksha is more important. And the Shiksha can be coming from previous acharyas, like we're reading Prabhupada's books. You're studying Prabhupada's books. So you're getting a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada used to say, I will live forever by my books. So the books, we're associating with Srila Prabhupada. And we're getting a lot of instruction from him, from his books. But devotees are a bit sentimental. We think, oh, he's my guru, he gave me my beads, he gave me my name. And then he wouldn't know you from Adam. He wouldn't know you, but still, we do it. It happens. So the real initiation of Srila Prabhupada is really the guru for everyone. He's the founder Acharya, and his shiksha is for everyone. He's the shiksha guru for everyone. So we have a very strong relationship with Prabhupada.
Okay.
It's Prabhupada we're worshipping every morning in the temple. So that relationship is there. So these relationships with friends and enemies, they're very temporary. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives some examples about how we could consider, because the son died and they're lamenting, oh my son, but who was that son? That son could have been your enemy, and he just took birth in your family to give you suffering. Just like one man came to Prabhupada and he brought his son was a Down syndrome, the brain was not, So the man said to Prabhupada, why is my son like this? Prabhupada said, in his past life, he said, you'd borrowed money from him and you hadn't paid it back, and he hated you so much. He came like this just to give you suffering.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I remember.
So some things like that, like here is saying the same thing. He said that he could have thought that he was my enemy in my last life, and that's why he came as my son and then died when he's very young, just to give me pain and suffering.
Why did someone borrows from a devotee and the devotee goes back to Godhead? So that person who he borrowed from devotee, he comes back does he still come back as a son of, does he still come back as a son of the devotee like next life as with Down syndrome? Actually, it doesn't make sense. What if one person borrows money from a devotee
And the devotee dies.
and the devotee dies and goes back to Godhead? So since he still has a debt to the devotee, how will he go through the suffering of being the son?
Well, if he has a debt, then he has to give the money to the society, right?
Okay.
He can give the money, or he gives the money in charity on behalf of that person. Just like people inherit money
In behalf of them.
yeah, maybe they do Shastra Dan, and they put this book donated by so-and-so, their relative or something. Or they do some big food distribution in the name of or they donate to a temple to build the temple and say this donated in the name of this person. If you owe them something, you should pay it back, even though they've gone, even though they've left the body.
Yeah.
Right? You can't take money from people. Debt, disease, and fire. They must be taken care of immediately, as soon as possible.
Fire?
Debt, disease, and fire.
Fire. What is fire? Should be a fleet action.
Fire. If there's a fire in the house, you have to take care of it, because the fire will spread. The whole house will be burned. So you have to immediately give it attention. Disease. Now there's this virus going around. And it's big news around the world. Everybody around the world, they're all telling me, oh, be careful. Oh, there's this virus there in Bengal. You know, you have to be very careful. Wear the mask over your mouth. You know, because there's this deadly virus. And say everybody gets the disease, practically everybody dies.
This is not depend on mask. Mask didn't help. Cannot help. Yeah, Nipah.
Nipah virus.
This is
Nipah virus, Maharaj.
What?
yeah.
Nipah virus.
Nipah virus.
It's originated
Nipah.
from
Nipah, yeah, name of virus.
That's the virus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Coming from the bats, is it?
yeah. From other animals.
When did it start?
Huh?
When did it start?
It just started recently.
Last week, I think.
Just
What are the symptoms?
Bunny.
Like a cold.
death. People die. That's the symptom. That's why it's a big threat. People are very worried. The whole world knows about it. They're all saying, Bengal, you know, in Bengal, there's this deadly virus.
So now no one will come for God Purnima?
Yeah, well, maybe. They're certainly very cautious. They don't want to, I don't know, I think they're stopping flights to Calcutta or something like that, you know? Huh?
Maharaj, symptoms of fever, headache, muscle pain, vomiting and sore throat.
Like a cold.
Like a cold, yeah.
Cold, but survival, 40 to 75% of people are dying.
Oh, they told me 75%.
No, they are saying 40 to 70%. I don't know.
40 to 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, deadly virus going around.
Yeah.
Just in this Bengal area, right?
Yeah.
Here between Calcutta and Mayapur.
Yeah,
Yeah, that area.
Yes.
In Mayapur, what are the precautions?
In Mayapur, no.
Between Calcutta and Mayapur, that area.
That area.
Oh, between.
Between, yeah.
Oh God.
It's a cut.
So there are visitors from
Katwa.
Kolkata that come to Mayapur, they can carry the disease.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can.
Yeah.
So anyway, these things have to be taken, you have to take care of them immediately. So that the whole world is warning, be careful, there's this virus in Bengal and, you know, it's worldwide news.
So, and it just had to happen before God Purnima. Then everyone's gonna come for parikrama.
Well, let's see.
Kirtanaya.
Anyway, so he said like this boy who became your son, maybe he was your enemy in your last life, and he's taking birth in your family just to give you trouble. He's going to die when he's very young, and then you'll lament that, oh, my son, you know. But he took birth just to give you trouble, because previous life he was your enemy. So this kind of, we can think like that. You know, if you have a child and your child died, you can think like that. It could have been like that. Why do you have to think, oh, it was my son? Why should he not consider his dead son his former enemy? If you know he's your former, we should be happy. Oh, my enemy's gone. Good. Okay. And then text number 6 gives another way, another view. He's giving these different examples. The boy, this is the boy, well, Chitraketu's son. He gives an example. Just as gold or other things can be transferred from one place to another, so in the same way the living entity moves from one body or one family to another. one father after another. Now somebody has the gold. Now you have some gold, and then somebody else buys the gold. They get the gold. So it's their gold, you know, and you give them up. Or you have an animal, like cows. You have your cows or your goats, you know, and they sell the goats, you know. Oh my goats, oh my cows, oh, you know, you've sold them. You're giving them away. You know, you can't be attached to these things. The same way, you know, somebody comes in your family as a child, you know, they go away. Don't be so attached. The money that you can't say it was my gold. It was mine. Oh, you okay for some time, but then you sell it to somebody else. You know, you can't. Oh, my gold. You know, you got the money. He paid you for it. Money is always money, but in different situations it can be used as an enemy or a friend. The money neither belongs to one party nor to the other. It can be a friend or it can be an enemy. And then it says, it's not by any father or mother that the living entity is given his birth. The living entity is a completely separate identity from the so-called father and mother. Right? Why is that? How is the living entity separate from the father and mother? Because the living entity is the soul. Right? The body is maybe the creation of the parent, but the soul is different. So the laws of nature force that soul to go to different fathers and mothers. Just like a consumer commodity that is purchased and sold. The relationship, the so-called relationship of father and son is an arrangement of prakriti, or nature. It has no meaning. Therefore, it is called illusion. And sometimes that living entity is an animal, and sometimes he's a human, sometimes he's a demigod, sometimes he's a bird. Well, so if we come in touch with a devotee, then it can change our whole life. If we're fortunate, right? If we get the association of a devotee, then it can change our life and we can hope we can go back to Godhead. And then Prabhupada quotes the Bengali verse, Janani Janami Sabi Pita Matapai Krishna Guru Nahi Mili Bojo Hori Oi. So the difficulty is to get a bona fide spiritual master in Krishna. And we have to get in touch with Krishna's devotees, make our life fortunate. The spiritual father, one can, under the guidance of the spiritual father, we can go back to Godhead. And then text 7 talks about the animals, that you may be an animal. The animal may be given to one person and then he may sell it to another person. So once he sells the animal, then he cannot think it's my animal. Once he sold the animal, he forgets about the animal. It's not attached to it. So the same way, Chitraketu, he named his son Harshashok. So the living entity is eternal, but he's covered with a temporary body. The son of Chitraketu lived as his son, but not for very long. And then he gave up the body, taken and went some other place. So the relationship was short and was broken. Just like you have a commodity, maybe you have a whole bunch of mangoes, right? And you consider my mangoes, my big basket of mangoes. But you give it to someone else. You say, here, take some mangoes for your family, take these mangoes. So someone else's mangoes. You can't. You give them away. You no longer have a relationship with them. So this is how they're explaining like that to the Maharaj Chitraketu. They want him to become detached from this. So the body is temporary, but the living entity is eternal. The body is born, not the living entity. The living entity does not take birth and he does not die. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. Right? For the soul, there's no birth and no death. So the living being has he has no relationship with these so-called fathers and mothers. He's like a son, but actually they're not really his father and mother. He falsely accepts that relationship. And after he dies, the relationship is finished. So these illusions are there. The living entity is eternal, but the body is temporary. The living entity has no beginning and no end, but the body has a beginning and an end. The living entity is, by nature, is Satchidananda, but the material body is just material, full of suffering. And the living entity is very small, and the Lord is very great. So we create the bodies according to our desire. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna. The living entity is sukshma, very small. How small? What is the size of the soul?
The tip of the...
1/10,000 part 1,000.
Thank you. So the living entity is like that. The living entity is the smallest. If Prabhupada said if the living entity is the smallest, we should want to know who's the greatest. The greatest is the Supreme Lord, and the smallest is the living entity. The living entity gets covered by the material energy, but the Lord is never covered. The living entity is described as Prabhu. Why?
Because he's responsible for his conditional life in the material world.
Is that why he's called Prabhu?
Yes, that's what the purport says.
Huh?
That's what the purport says. The living entity is responsible for his conditional life in the material world, and therefore he is described as Prabhu, the master.
He has that independence to select if he wants to come back to the material world or go back home, back to Godhead.
See?
Is that why he's called Prabhu? No, one of the questions on this chapter is why is he called Prabhu?
Yes.
Right? What do you have for that, Prabhu?
Same answer.
The same as that. That is the living entity is responsible for his conditional life in the material world.
This answer has no
Huh?
there is a relevance. Answer this Prabhu and this question, the sentence has no meaning actually. There is no connection. Like living entity is responsible for the conditional life in the material world. What this sentence and Prabhu has no connection actually.
That he's a master of his own problems.
How can I make out this conditional life?
But then is that why we call everyone Prabhu?
Well, usually we call everyone Prabhu because they're senior to us, to develop humility and respect in our dealings.
So, but this has a different meaning than that.
Huh?
But this is not the same meaning of that Prabhu, or is it a different Prabhu?
Well, in a sense, it's also true, you know, we're responsible for our conditional life in the material world. We are responsible, like nobody else is responsible. And so therefore we're also Prabhu. Every individual is responsible for his own life in the material world. So he's also Prabhu. Prabhupada said if he likes, he can come to this material world, and if he likes, he can go back to Godhead. Because he wants to enjoy the material world, so Krishna gave him a material body. So it was our choice, right? We're responsible for our life in the material world. Prabhupada took the cockroach, threw out the window and said, go outside and enjoy. He said, that's the type of body you get when you misuse your independence. You misuse the independence, we take some lower species of life. So we should feel sorry for these creatures and, you know, we give them the holy name. Okay, go ahead, text number 10. No one is dear, no one is unfavorable. He makes no distinction between that which is his own and that which belongs to anyone else. He's one without a second. He is not affected by friends and enemies, well-wishers or mischief mongers. He is only an observer, a witness of the different qualities of men. Who's talking?
The sun, Harshashoka.
The dead boy, come back to life. He's speaking philosophically. So living entity has the same qualities as the Lord, but in a different quantity. One in quality, different in quantity. The Lord is all-pervading, the living entity is not. For the Lord there are no friends, enemies or relatives. He is free from all disqualifications that characterize the conditioned soul. And he is very kind and favorable to the devotees, but not satisfied with people who are envious of his devotees. And then Prabhupada quotes the relevant verse, 929, Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, I envy no one, I'm equal to all. So the Lord has no enemy, but he's inclined towards a devotee. So then 1619, Krishna says, I put them into the demoniac species, birth after birth. Let them stay in the demoniac species, birth after birth. They'll be happy there. Puts them in the body of nasty dogs, or puts them in the body of something like a crocodile or alligator. Yes?
I kind of did not understand this text then. Is this a characteristic of a soul, like what is being discussed here?
What?
For this living entity, no one is dear, nor is anyone favorable. And there's one point, he is one without a second. In other words, he is not affected by friends and enemies. So this is all about the original position of the soul. Or this is a description of the Supreme Personality, of the Paramatma. This looks like not the description of because living entity gets affected with friends and enemies and all, but in his pure condition, when he's fixed in his constitutional position, maybe he may behave like...
Well, in the 13th chapter, there's that similar situation where they're talking, you know, it's not very clear, is he talking about the soul? And, you know, it's just not so clear which one is meant. So some acharyas, they'll say that Krishna is speaking to the Brahman, or Krishna is the Brahman, he's addressing everyone. That not everybody has the same understanding. Some people say Krishna is talking to Arjuna. Some people say Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Not everybody agrees Krishna is the Supreme Lord. That's difficult to know. Anyway, Krishna says he'll put people who are envious of him into demoniac species of life. And they have to suffer. That's their desire. Some living entities actually desire to have that kind of body. Barking dogs, you know, nasty dog, and these kind of dogs. But some people are like that, you know, they're like Prabhupada said that Prabhupada talked about the immigration officers, you know. Barking dog, why are you coming here? What do you want here? Why are you coming here? Like that as the immigration officers, you know, when you come in the country, you know, question it. So some people like that. So Krishna wants to protect the devotees, so sometimes Krishna kills the demons. Krishna arranges to protect his devotees. And then text 11 is talking more about the Lord, about the position of the Lord and how the Lord is independent and neutral, and the living entities are his parts and parcels, and the quantities and minute quantity. One should not be affected by lamentation. Why not? Because he is the Ishvara, the supreme controller. So he's not affected by duality. Lord Krishna is not affected by duality. He's not lamenting. Why should we lament? He is in the core of everyone's heart. He's a witness of the cause and effect of our activity. We should also understand that Udashina meaning neutral. He takes no, he's not partial. And Prabhupada gives an example about the judge. The judge is neutral, but he has to award. Sometimes he will award somebody and sometimes he will punish someone, depending on what happened. He will listen. The judge has to hear the case and make a decision. So, the same way the Super Soul is a witness to all of our activities, and he will decide who's getting punished and who's going to be rewarded. We have to seek the shelter of the supreme neutral person. So Lord, the neutral person, the supreme neutral person, that is Lord Krishna. We want to be indifferent to the material activities. Material activities. So Maharaj Chitraketu was saying it's impossible to be neutral when my son has died. My son is dead, so it's impossible to be neutral. So Krishna knows how to adjust everything. So the best thing to do is to depend on Krishna and do one's duty in devotional service. In any circumstances, one should be undisturbed by duality. No, that's a nice thing, that we should be undisturbed. And Prabhupada quotes 247, Karmani evati karaste. You have a right to do your duty, don't be attached to the work. Do our duty as devotional service, and for the results of our actions, we should depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think just depend on Krishna and you'll get what you want. So that's pretty much the end with that boy, the Jiva, you know. So then we hear, after the boy had spoken in this way, and then left, in other words, he lay down again, died again. Then Chitraketu and everybody, they were all shocked, because the boy had come back to life and spoke to them all these words, and then lay down again, because the spiritual force which was in the boy's body left again. So they give up their relationship and they stopped lamenting and they began to take care of all the rituals which they had to do. Because they're grihastas, they have to do some rituals. The boy dies, they have to do a funeral for him. They cannot just only cremate him and say, oh, it doesn't matter. No, they have to think about it, they have to do the funeral. And they have to also, they have to make arrangements for the boy's ashes, and then they want to distribute prasadam to everyone there. So they did everything, and all the people, they did the funeral ceremonies, and they had gotten free of their lamentation. Because the boy had spoken very, they'd seen the boy come back to life, and the boy had told them very clearly, what's happening. That I'm changing my body, I'm going to live some other place. So there's no reason for them to lament anymore, but they have to do a ceremony for that dead body. And then we hear, in text 14, we hear about the co-wives. Now what's going to happen to them? The co-wives, they have done the most terrible thing. They gave the poison to the child. So they feel very guilty.
Atoned.
Huh?
In the translation, it's written that they atone for their sinful activities. But we heard that atonement is useless. It's like elephant bathing and putting mud on the body. So, why are they atoning and instead of doing bhakti?
Yeah, but they have to do bhakti, but they have to also atone. They've done something wrong. They've done something very wrong. They murdered somebody. Very wrong. A little child. So definitely there'll be some reaction for that. So they do some austerity. Maybe they get some tapasya, some beads or something to do their austerity on. Anyway, they're going to do austerities, and this way they want to nullify the reactions for killing the child. Yeah, they're going to do devotional service, but you can't just think, oh well, we killed somebody, I'll just do devotional service, it'll be okay. Yeah. You have to take it very seriously. You've done something very wrong, you should do some atonement, And at the same time, you should also do devotional service. But you shouldn't think you can just go on and it doesn't matter. No. It's a big thing. So killing a child in the womb, Prabhupada talks about how today it's very common. You see here this is, remember, they wanted to have a child for this territory here. Prabhupada said they've been killing children for a long time. It's quite surprising to read it, but that's what it says. Anyway, here we know these queens, they poisoned the child, they killed the child. So that was terrible. But they're repentant, they feel sorry for it, so that's good. And they're very ashamed, and they lost their bodily luster. They're not so effulgent anymore, they lost their luster. bodily luster, someone's done something sinful, they don't, if they have any consciousness at all, they'll feel ashamed, and it will be seen in their face. So it could be understood that these queens had done something very terrible. And generally women also kind of keep a secret, Yeah. So going to come out. So they gave up their ambition to have children. They were all barren anyway, right? We heard, so they're not going to have children. So they went to the banks of the Yamuna and they bathed and they atoned for their sinful activities. They atoned. They would do some, maybe chant mantras, chant prayers, some fasting, some kind of austerities to try to purify themselves for what they've done. So killing children, it's so common. Prabhupada said today it's so common. It's so common in the world today, When a woman conceives a child, they just go off to the hospital, and the hospital, an abortion, yeah, okay, And they join the line, and there's a big line of people, and they're all sitting, and all the women are going in having abortions. And a lot of women have, and they have many abortions. I heard about some women, they had like 9 abortions. I can't imagine how their health is after that, after having so many abortions. But it's so common. And we get people like that coming to Krishna consciousness, and they will say, I didn't know. They just say, I didn't know it was wrong. Everybody did it. Everybody does it. Didn't know it's wrong. And even nowadays, of course, they have it like that in the Western countries, in India also. You just pay some money and nobody minds it. It's very common.
You need to go to interior towns, not in the cities. There is some monitoring. If you go to rural towns, you can get it done without.
Well, I don't have this problem, Prabhu, You're telling me where I can go and get, It's not really. But it's very sinful. It's very sinful. And sometimes girls would come to Prabhupada and say, like that, they had an abortion. And Prabhupada would tell them, this is very sinful, now you must atone for it, you should be very serious in Krishna consciousness, you have to practice Krishna consciousness very carefully, and you should never do it again. Right? You should never do it again, that's the idea. All of our sinful activities are surely atoned for immediately by Krishna consciousness. But one should not commit such deeds again, for that is an offense. What offense is it? Committing sin on the strength of chanting.
7th one.
7th offense. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting Hare Krishna. Just like we were just at last week, we were hearing about Indra, right? He was going to kill the Brahmana and then do a horse sacrifice to atone for. But after he killed the Brahmana, immediately he got the sinful reactions. And he couldn't do the horse sacrifice for a long time. And he had to go, how long did it? 1,000 years he was in the stem of the lotus flower. Before he could get freed. Because he killed a Brahmana. And he done it with proper intention. It wasn't wasn't impulsive, wasn't just some spontaneous thing, but he did with a lot of thought and encouragement from the demigods, and Indra went and he killed Vritrasura. But then he got the sinful reactions. So here also, it's described about these queens that they'd given the child, a little baby, some poison. So they were guilty. So they did some atonement for that. So then King Chitraketu becomes aware of spiritual knowledge, and he came out of the dark well of family life, right? Bathing in the Yamuna. I don't know, bathing in the Yamuna water is not very, very contaminated, right? So much garbage, so much chemicals.
It's better now.
It's a bit better now. They're trying to.
The government is trying to clean up Yamuna completely.
Good.
You heard?
Yeah, they only try, but it's not getting clean.
So the king bathed in the water and offered oblations to the forefathers and demigods. He controlled his mind and senses and offered respect and obeisances to the sons of Lord Brahma, namely
Angira and Narada.
And yeah, so he offers obeisances to them, and then they were very pleased with him, and Narada Muni spoke to him the following instructions, and he's giving him this mantra, so many different mantras to chant, beginning text 18 and 19, right? Om Namah Tubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumna Aniruddhaya Namah Sankarshanaya Cha. Good, yeah. Oh, big one. Namo Vidyana Madhyaya Paramananda Murtaye Atmanamaya Santaya Nirvidadvaita Shishtaye. Jai. Not so difficult to chant, quite nice one to chant. So anyway, he's offering, Narada Muni gave Chitraketu this mantra to chant, and it goes on for several verses, how to chant the mantra.
Narada Muni gave a different mantra to Dhruva and different mantra to Chitraketu.
To who?
Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj got Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Maybe because he's a kid. Maybe because he's a kid. So Mataji asked that Narada Muni gave a different mantra to Dhruva and a different mantra to Chitraketu. So I just said maybe because Dhruva is a kid, a child.
Short mantra.
Short one.
He was in a cave.
No, he's a small. Dhruva was a small boy, so maybe that's a short mantra.
Short mantra.
So he got a small mantra.
No, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Anyway, he got the mantra and he chanted it. So that's the main thing. We've been given the mantra also. We get the mantra. Many people get initiated in the mantra. They don't chant it. They don't chant. They get the mantra, but they don't chant. They don't do it regularly. So many things they don't do.
Okay.
So, conditioned life, describing about the Lord and His different forms, different expansions. He can see with His hands and legs. He does not need a particular body. to perform a particular mission. He can do anything he desires with any part of the body, and therefore he is called Almighty. Right? Angani yasya shakalendriya vrittimanti. That means he can do many things with any one of the senses. So this was the description of the Lord. And then the difference between the Lord and the living entity. That's described in text number 20, is it? Yeah, text number 20. Anyway, this is a good place. We'll take a break here. Guys.
Everyone just wait in class.